Imagine reaching the absolute pinnacle of global television fame, only to throw it all away because of a secret you swore to carry to your grave. The world knew her as the snobbish Hyacinth Bucket, but in real life, Patricia Routledge was a fortress of privacy who guarded a single secret for over 50 years. The secret wasn't found in a script or tabloid. It was hidden inside a letter she wrote at the very end of her life, and its contents change everything we thought we knew about the comedy icon. When she abruptly walked away from her historic television role in 1995, she left millions of fans in total shock. For decades, the media scrambled to piece together why a beloved actress would dismantle her own empire. Was it exhaustion, a backstage feud, or something far more personal? The truth lay dormant inside her quiet West Sussex home, waiting to be revealed. To truly understand the weight of what Patricia was hiding, we have to look at the sheer scale of the phenomenon she created. Keeping Up Appearances was not just a successful British sitcom. It was an international goldmine, eventually sold to over 45 countries and viewed by hundreds of millions of people. Hyacinth Bucket, with her obsessive social climbing, her dreaded candlelit suppers, and her shrieking corrections of how to pronounce her last name, became a global caricature of middle-class pretension. But the woman behind the character was the polar opposite. While Hyacinth constantly clawed for attention and status, Patricia Routledge lived in a state of quiet, dignified retreat. She never married, she never had children, and she absolutely refused to let the press cross the threshold of her private life. This stark contrast baffled the British public. Who was the real Patricia Routledge? As the show reached its absolute peak in 1995, drawing in blockbuster viewing figures, the BBC prepared for another record-breaking season. And then, without warning, Patricia did the unthinkable. She walked away. No negotiations, no farewell tour, just a cold, decisive stop. But here is the question that baffled BBC executives and cast members alike. Why did Patricia abruptly pull the plug on the show at the absolute zenith of its success? There was no public scandal, no terminal illness, and her co-stars were desperate to keep the momentum going. Yet, she walked away. Tell me in the comments, would you have walked away for millions of dollars in global fame just to protect your personal sanity? Let me know your thoughts down below. The public assumed she was simply tired of the role. They believed she wanted to pursue theater and other acting ventures, like her subsequent detective series, Hetty Wainthropp Investigates. But those who worked closely with her knew there was an invisible wall she had built around herself, a barrier designed to prevent anyone from looking too closely at her personal life. For over 50 years, she managed to keep that wall perfectly intact, offering only scripted performances to the public. Then, everything changed. On October 3, 2025, Dame Patricia Routledge passed away peacefully in her sleep at the age of 96. Her death marked the end of an era, but it was the aftermath of her passing that blew the lid off her carefully guarded world. In July 2026, Stride & Son auctioneers in Chichester announced they would be handling the monumental auction of her private estate. For the first time in nearly a century, the doors to her private sanctuary were thrown open. As appraisers began sorting through boxes of her personal belongings, they uncovered a massive archive of private correspondence, personally inscribed books from playwright Alan Bennett, musical scores hand-signed by documentation from Leonard Bernstein, and historical playbills. Among letters from King Charles, Baroness Betty Boothroyd, and former Prime Minister Theresa May, they discovered something else, a deeply personal, handwritten letter written by Patricia herself near the end of her life. This was her final confession, and it revealed a devastating truth about the silent battle she fought behind the laughter. This hidden letter, penned as she approached her final years, painted a picture of a woman who felt deeply trapped by the very character that made her a household name. In the letter, Patricia reflected on the profound emotional burden of carrying Hyacinth Bucket on her shoulders for 3 decades. She wrote about the exhausting struggle of being perceived as a joke, a caricature, and a loud-mouthed snob, while her true self was a highly intellectual, deeply sensitive classical actress. She had trained at the prestigious Bristol Old Vic Theatre School, won a Tony Award on Broadway in 1968 for Darling of the Day, and conquered London's West End, winning an Olivier Award in 1988 for her stunning performance in Leonard Bernstein's Candide. For a woman of such staggering, award-winning theatrical prestige, being reduced to a single, nagging television character was a double-edged sword that cut deeply into her artistic soul. But just when the public thought they understood her solitude, another hidden detail in her estate letters surfaced, one that pointed to an intensely close, highly protected relationship that she kept entirely hidden from the press for her entire career. What was she trying so desperately to protect? Inside her private drawers were letters detailing her secret, fiercely guarded friendships with members of the royal family, including King Charles, and even private notes concerning Prince William and Kate. For decades, the media spun wild rumors that Patricia was a lonely recluse, unable to form deep connections. In reality, she was living a richly connected life, completely integrated into the highest echelons of British society. But unlike her screen persona Hyacinth, who would have died to boast about royal connections, Patricia considered her friendships sacred. She refused to use her prestigious companions as social currency, deliberately keeping them out of the media spotlight to preserve their trust. For her entire life, tabloids and biographers speculated about why Patricia never married or had a family. In a mid-20th century entertainment industry that demanded female stars conform to traditional domestic narratives, her fiercely guarded single status was constantly scrutinized. Her private letters revealed that her choice to remain single wasn't due to a lack of love, but rather a deliberate decision to protect those closest to her from the invasive, toxic nature of British tabloid culture. She had witnessed how the press dismantled the lives of her peers, and she refused to let her loved ones become collateral damage for her fame. This was a woman who sang at the funeral of Baroness Boothroyd and read at her memorial at Westminster Abbey, yet she never once bragged about these elite social circles. Unlike Hyacinth, who would have screamed such royal and political connections from the rooftops, Patricia kept these friendships locked away in drawers. But the letter she wrote near the end of her life revealed a heartbreaking truth. She confessed, "There are people who can't really get beyond keeping up appearances if they think about me." To them, she wasn't a classical stage actress who had conquered the West End and Broadway. She was just the annoying woman shouting into a telephone. Ask yourself, is the ultimate price of fame the total erasure of who you actually are? Imagine having an acclaimed, award-winning career in musical theater and drama, only to be remembered forever for shrieking into a turquoise telephone. Would that drive you to lock your doors, retreat to a quiet cathedral city like Chichester, and withdraw from the public eye? Write down your theory in the comments right now. For the last 25 years of her life, Patricia lived in Chichester, deliberately choosing anonymity over the Hollywood spotlight. She spent her days attending church, supporting local charities, and living a life of quiet grace. But the letters discovered in her estate show that even in her 90s, she was still receiving mountains of fan mail from all over the world. People wrote to her from Scandinavia, America, and Australia, telling her how Hyacinth had helped them laugh through cancer diagnoses, divorces, and the deaths of their own family members. In one of her final documented reflections, Patricia admitted that these letters from fans made the burden of her fame thoroughly worthwhile. She realized that while she had sacrificed her own privacy and perhaps a traditional family life to maintain her career, she had given millions of people a reason to smile during their darkest hours. But as the auction hammer prepares to fall on her private letters, a chilling realization sets in. Did Patricia want these deeply personal secrets to be sold to the highest bidder? Or is this the final, non-consensual exposure of a woman who spent half a century fighting for her privacy? Let me know in the comments, should her private estate letters have been kept sealed forever? Or do we have a right to know the real woman behind the comedy mask? Ultimately, the contents of her private letters do not diminish her legacy. They elevate it. They prove that Patricia Routledge's greatest performance wasn't Hyacinth Bucket. It was the masterclass in boundaries she maintained for over 50 years. She gave us her genius, her timing, and her laughter, but she kept her soul entirely for herself. Her final written wisdom serves as a reminder to us all. Growing older is not the closing act. It can be the most exquisite chapter. If you let yourself bloom again, you don't need to be famous. You don't need to be flawless. You only need to show up fully for the life that is still yours. If you want to discover more hidden histories of the legends who chose privacy over the spotlight, subscribe to the channel right now and check out the video on your screen to uncover another unforgettable Hollywood mystery.